The Digital Photography Cafe show is brought to you by Focus Pyramid, the autofocus lens calibration tool for your camera.
Welcome to the Digital Photography Cafe show. Join hosts Trevor Current and Joseph Christina as they serve up the hottest photography news and commentary.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. This is episode 195. I'm Joseph Christina here with my co-host Trevor Current. On last week's show, we talked about Adobe's very last Camera Raw update, man shoots down drone, and affordable medium format digital photography. If you haven't watched last week's show, I encourage you to do so. You can find it at digitalphotographycafe.com and our YouTube channel, youtube.com/dphotocafe. Listen with the popular Stitcher, TuneIn, and Xbox Music apps, or subscribe through iTunes or RSS.
Hey, we are back. How you doing, man?
How are you doing?
I'm doing okay.
Excellent. How was your week?
Week was fine. It was busy as usual. Same old. We're, still trying to squeeze in the last few summer activities before the kids go back to school. So I'm trying to balance some work and life with that. And, just sometimes hard to do, but, got to do what you got to do. I know you just had a big monumental moment this past week with your daughter, right?
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. Yeah, my oldest one went back to school. She was in her second year of college, but she moved from down here in South Florida on up to North Carolina. So we had to move her, and that's why we weren't on last week for the show. I wasn't around. So yeah, it was just Trev. It was just crazy. It was literally crazy. We had to move all of her stuff to the dorm, right, up in North Carolina. We're in Florida. So you're looking at close to 800, 900 miles. Yeah. But we also had to move her car up. So that was it was just brutal. I rented one of these things from the U-Haul, one of those tow dollies. And, I've towed things before, but it's always trailer hitch type of thing, never a tow dolly. And, I'm looking at this thing and I'm like, it actually moves on two axes. So it moves on where the ball is, but then the car itself moves like on the platform. I'm like, that doesn't look good to me. So I asked the person behind the counter, I'm like, can you back up with this? He said, no. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, no, you can't back up. I'm like, what the heck do you do then? If you can't back up? He's like, well, if you need to back up, sir, you need to take the car down off the dolly, then you have to detach it off the ball, then move the car, then move your truck, and then reattach the dolly, and then drive the car back up and strap it back on. I'm like, are you serious?
Yep.
I was
Translation, don't stop anywhere where you can't pull in and pull straight out.
Yeah. So translation, my wife ends up being the navigator, and we go from truck stop to truck stop where I can take a big, sweeping turn to get out, a U-turn, let's say, to get gas. So we're going from stop to stop to stop. It was just crazy. And then we got 4 states of rain, all the way from Florida, all the way up. I think it was like South Carolina, pouring rain the entire time. And then as we started to get up in the mountains, now it's up and down, 2,000 pounds being pulled or more, behind me. The truck's pushing, and I wouldn't wish this on my worst.
No.
Man, it was just, it was really bad. And then it's supposed to be 10 hours, right? It ends up taking me, it was 16 and a half hours because of the rain and because of, having to pull this extra weight. We only could go like 55, 60, and that's it. Right. We finally get into North Carolina at like 2:30 in the morning. I left at 9:43 in the morning out of Florida. We get there at let's say 2:30 in the morning, and I don't want this hitch on there anymore, right? So I pull into U-Haul. They got a 24-hour drop off, and I yank this thing off in the rain, of course, still. And I drag this thing up and I lynch it. I just tie it up to like a big canister just so it doesn't roll down the hill.
Oh God. What a nightmare, man. I tell you, And it's not only the 15 plus hours of travel and the stress and the white knuckle drive, but then it's, having to unload all this stuff in the rain, and then spend the next couple of days moving stuff into the dorm and getting that all set up. It's a lot, man. It's a lot.
Yeah. It's just one of those things. And of course, the hotel that we get to at 2:30 in the morning ends up being like the Bates Hotel. Oh, all right. Great. It was
Nice.
the grossest hotel I've ever been in my entire life, and of course that's the one that we have to stop. And it was just craziness. But yeah, so guys, that's why I wasn't here, and I'm for literally 4 or 5 days I was gone. But yeah, it was kind of sad. It was bittersweet. It's nice to see her go and kind of spread her wings. Out of state, going to school. Really, really great school up there. But it's hard too. It's hard for the wife and me.
Yeah. Yeah, we're not there yet. We've got quite a few more years before our kids get to college age, but I can imagine it's tough. And,
Yeah. So
Yeah.
anyways, moral of the story, if you need to transport a car, do not use a U-Haul tow dolly, flatbed it, or hire someone to do it. Don't do it yourself.
Don't do it
It's
yourself.
literally a nightmare. I would not wish it on my worst enemy. It's horrible. It really is horrible.
Yeah.
Especially the gas issue. It's just horrible. So anyways, that's enough of my my saga. Getting into the show, we got a lot of stuff for you guys this week, and kind of open it up, I guess, with the iPhone 6 Plus. They've been having a lot of people have been having problems with that, with, let's say, taking pictures and video and whatnot. And supposedly they're going to be replacing that iSight camera, right?
Yeah. So iPhone 6 Pluses that were built from September 2014 to January 2015, there was a manufacturing defect in the camera, and basically you're getting blurry images. So there is they have a website where you can go drop your serial number in there, and if your phone is one of the affected, you bring it into Apple and they will actually replace the camera for you at no cost.
Right.
So that's really good. It's unfortunate though that from September to the beginning of this year that you've had one of these phones and you're shooting all these blurry photos and can't figure out why, and now they know
why is it
why.
blurry?
And here we are, August. So
Well, that's they do not act quickly, especially when it comes to this. This is
No.
basically a full out recall, is what it
it
comes
really
down to.
is, yeah.
And I remember with the iPhone 5 that I got way back in the day, I ended up getting 3 different iPhone 5s, 2 of which took blurry photos, and then the last one, the one that I have now, the pictures are rock solid. So yeah, I think they've had issues with their cameras, in the past, and I think that people don't realize that they're having issues, that the pictures are kind of soft. And if you're a pixel peeper or a photographer, you look at it, you're like, yeah, that doesn't look right. Especially me,
Right.
like I'm the autofocus guy,
Right,
So I
right.
look at it and I know exactly. I'm like, yeah, no, that's not right at all. So, but yeah, if you have one of those cameras, and like Trevor said, you just type in your serial number, it'll say if you're one of them. And if you do have one of them, bring it in, and they'll switch it right out for you. So
Yeah, we'll have a
that's
link
good.
in the show notes so you can find where to drop your serial number in. So it's real easy to do, but definitely act on it now.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
You got another year on your contract, so.
Right.
So now, kind of Canon in their mirrorless space with their EOS M system, we've kind of commented over the last year plus as all these other manufacturers are really coming out with some great mirrorless cameras, and Canon's M series has really kind of been lackluster. It really was not that great. There really weren't great reviews about it. The features of it were not that great. And I guess Canon is finally sensing like, wow, Sony and all these other companies are eating our lunch when it comes to mirrorless. I guess we need to do something. So rumor has it they're actually going to really spend a fair amount of money and resources and R&D into building out this mirrorless line, this mirrorless product moving forward into 2016.
Yeah,
So-
the EOS M series. I agree. I mean, you see Sony just really picking up the mirrorless ball and literally running with it. And I think Canon sees that people are actually migrating over because that platform, is just doing really well with Canon glass. I mean, last week we took a look at that Sony, the R2, the latest and greatest Sony A7R2, I think it was.
Yep.
That the Canon glass strapped onto that autofocus, just dead sharp, perfectly and quickly.
Yeah.
Right. And they're seeing that. Canon's like, wait a second. I mean, this is getting too, a little bit too much.
Hitting a little too close to home here.
Yeah. Normally, we always say it's, Canon and Nikon are like, two legs on one body. One takes a step and the next one takes a step. I predicted this way back when Sony started this whole entire, the whole mirrorless large sensor and all that. They might end up being that third party that actually takes hold, and there will be 3 legs on that body, and it really feels that way on the mirrorless space. And I think that might end up coming to fruition. I do like to see though when you're having these multiple companies fighting for that mirrorless space, but that's all it's going to do is just going to give us better mirrorless technology. They're putting that R&D money into it. That's just great for us.
Well, Canon has kind of been able to rest on their laurels in this space because they know that they're true DSLR fans who have invested a lot in glass. Most are not going to switch over to another manufacturer and lose all of that money. But now they can,
right? Yeah.
As we know, the bodies are pretty much disposable, whereas the lenses themselves are kind of forever, And if you're right now able to take these lenses and drop them on a different manufacturer's body and get great results out of it, that really is a game changer for Canon. And I think they're feeling the heat now. They realize that they gotta do something. They can't just sit back anymore. So that's good. I really am hoping they do something awesome. I am. Yeah. It's for those who are big Canon fans, being able to stay in camp with Canon is great. And if nothing else, it drives competition, like you said. So
yeah, absolutely. So, anyways, moving on. YouTube. We are always looking for some type of audio as far as being able to play in the background when we're making videos, or possibly we're a wedding photographer and we're putting together a slideshow. We want some audio in the background. And, photographers have always been notorious for stealing audio, right? And not giving credit or whatever it might be, instead of getting royalty-free stuff, right? So YouTube has made it nice and simple, nice and easy, and they've added. They used to had like 200 or 300 tracks that you can use, kind of free of charge in your videos. Now that number is increased by 1,000 more. So, and it's really quite interesting, really quite nice. It's all royalty free, 1,000 tracks, and what's really nice, Trev, is you can download those tracks. You don't have to just go and, let's say, stick them into your video through their editor, let's say. You can actually download those tracks and then use them in your editing. So I really like that a lot. Yeah, initially when I first saw this article, that was my concern. Like, are these 1,000 tracks of royalty-free music going to be dumped in on the YouTube side, like through the web interface? Or can you actually download them? And after further research, yes, you can download them. You can edit in Premiere or Final Cut or whatever software you're using, and then upload them. But the idea being is that YouTube will recognize this music because they're running their algorithms on it, and they'll realize that it's one of their tracks, and they won't flag you. They also have ad-supported music. So when you log in, and we'll have a link in the show notes, but when you go to YouTube and you look at these royalty-free tracks, there's another tab for the ad-supported. So there are contemporary songs, pop songs out there from mainstream artists that you can use. The caveat to this, though, is like Bruno Mars. They had that Uptown Funk was one of them I just happened to see. Popular song all over the radio. If you use that in your video and you upload it to YouTube, YouTube will not flag it as copyrighted material. They will recognize it as allowable copyright material. They will not allow you to monetize that video. So if you're looking to make money off the video going viral or something, you won't be able to do that. The artist, and I'm guessing YouTube, will share in the profits from any click-throughs that come through on those ads. So your video will be monetized, but not by you. So definitely something to keep in mind if you plan on using one of those. But what's really nice, guys, about this is that you can use this, the current music, let's call it, in your video and still put it up and if you're not, then if there's no need to monetize, for example, if you're a wedding photographer and you want to put up a wedding piece and you want to, mix it to, Bruno Mars, let's just say, you could do it. And you don't have to worry about some type of infringement. Obviously, you're not going to monetize that wedding video either, no matter what, or some type of,
but the problem, YouTube will. So if you use this song with Bruno Mars and you put it up there, you're going to have ads pop up over it that aren't yours.
Exactly.
So, that, again, keep that in mind. If you don't want ads appearing on your videos for your clients or whatever,
then you have to use something else.
Don't use that type of music.
Yeah. And what happens a lot of times is you'll see, brides say, I want this song. And they don't care. They just want that song. And, you just can tell them, listen, there might be a couple there might be an ad popping up, but you'll have your song kind of thing,
Yeah.
So, but yeah, know what you're getting into before you get into it. But the main gist of it here too is the royalty free. 1,000 different songs free of charge that you can use, and it will not flag your video and have it pulled off of YouTube. That's stellar.
That's awesome. That's really good.
Yeah. So anyways, moving on, we had I talked about a guy that converted from his RAW to, or he was trying to use RAW, and it wouldn't work through the application, the DxO Optics Pro. And what he did is he converted an entire year to DNGs because he really enjoyed using the DxO. So this was like about a week or so ago. Well, this week, kind of lucky for him. I'm not sure who this guy was, but lucky for him, they report that their new release came out 10.4.3 that goes and adds in a lot of the brand new cameras that are out there. Not necessarily brand new, but more of the newer cameras. For example, the 750D, the Rebel T6i, the 760D, there's a bunch of them. Anyway, so what will happen now is you'll be able to use your DxO Optics Pro and also be able to bring in those specific cameras' RAW files and edit them without converting to DNG, which is great, right?
Yeah, that's good. That's good. What concerns me, though, with the software is these cameras have been out for a while. And why they're only just getting around to including those RAW file formats in the software is a little concerning. Is there legal issues with being able to utilize these RAW formats? It takes them a little time, or are they just slow to respond? So, that's something before you jump into DxO, I would definitely research it and make sure you feel comfortable with this software because it's, once you start down the road with a piece of software, it's not always easy to switch.
Yeah.
You want to make sure you're happy with what you've got.
No, absolutely. I think they're stating 672 camera/lens combinations is what they added in 10.4.3, which is a lot. That's a lot of work to do. It's a lot of profiling. Because remember, once they add those in there, most likely they're going to be compensating for barrel. They're going to be compensating for vignetting and a lot of other issues. It's not just straight up the raw loads in. Usually, if they're profiling a specific camera to lens, there's a lot of work that goes into it. And like you said, maybe it's going with a larger company that can kind of react quicker. I don't know, but a lot of people really like this software for post-production. They feel that it gives them a better picture using it. So,
absolutely.
It's one of those things, you got to just what do they say? Do your due diligence.
That's right.
Before jumping into anything. Absolutely. Yep. So anyways, we got a lot more for you this week. But before we go any further, let's go ahead and hear from one of our sponsors. The 3-in-1 Photo Reference Tool is a versatile, all-in-one color reference accessory designed to help you dial in white balance, exposure, and color temperature. With its 37 anti-reflective color reference tiles, both photographer and videographer can take complete control over their color workflow. The front side features 19 color tiles. The large 18% gray card with center target makes autofocus lockup easy while providing fast in-camera custom white balance and single-click color correction in post-production. The 6-step exposure gradient provides perfect tonal reproduction, balancing highlights with deep, rich blacks in every image. Its 12 tiles of primary, processed, and standard skin tone colors are perfect for digital reference. On the backside of the 3-in-1 photo reference tool, you will find 18 custom tiles. 6-step exposure gradient, including an 18% gray tile, perfect for dialing in exposure and neutralizing color temperature in post-production. And finally, perfect for the portrait photographer, a unique 12-step gradient unlike any other color reference tool, allowing warming, cooling, and neutralizing color with a single click. From in-camera to post-production, the 3-in-1 photo reference tool helps push your creativity to the next level, providing complete color control over all your imaging creation. Grab one today from your local camera dealer or visit our website at jchristina.com.
All right, we're back. And this week, or recently, Corel has released the update to their PaintShop Pro application. It's PaintShop Pro X8 now. So, really, some interesting features. If you're a Windows user, because this is a Windows-only product, unfortunately. But if you are a Windows user and you've been in the Corel camp for a long time, which they've been around a long time, so... this is good news for you. A lot of really good features have been added.
Yeah, I really like Corel. I always have. I've used them ever since I was a kid.
They're quality
Photoshop.
Products. I mean,
it is
not
quality.
like
They've been around
rate.
forever.
Yeah,
absolutely. And this new, this update addresses a lot of issues. Like it allows you to do like text wrapping, like wrapping text around objects and stuff, which is kind of cool. What I really see that really is kind of effective if someone is moving towards Corel in comparison going through Photoshop. They also have now, the content aware is extremely good. They call it the magic move,
right.
But it's basically it's a content aware tool, just like Photoshop has. It allows you to remove backgrounds or move foregrounds from backgrounds or vice versa. So content aware is really big, and that's in there, and supposedly pretty tight. It's supposed to be doing they're doing a really good job at it. It does batching, batch modes. It does lens correction, like we were just talking about earlier. With the the DxO, it does lens correction, so you can bring in an image. It knows what the common whatever it is for that specific lens. Let's say it's a 7200, right? And it says, we need to work on this barrel distortion or fix this vignetting that's going on or whatever.
Right.
Also, what I found in the list of things that they have added and changed, they enhanced, quote unquote, enhanced their Camera Raw lab. And what I really like about this is the whole camera the Camera Raw thing here. Whereas we know that just last week we talked about the death of Camera Raw on the side of Adobe, where Adobe is no longer going to provide updates to Camera Raw. Right. To version 6 and
for the standalone CS6 version.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just going to go forward to the CC stuff. So if that's the case, and let's say Corel is really doing this Camera Raw lab right, let's just call it. I think there could be people that look at it as, once again, as another alternative to the Photoshop platform.
Especially if they're already on a Windows machine, which is a good portion of the world,
Yeah, absolutely. So that was really interesting, and they are keeping this up to date, and they are they're really pushing for that raw, and I think that's going to be big. Mission critical for any organization, any company. They need to make sure their raw is right. And it's up to date, just like we were saying earlier. Why are they getting these cameras over there at DxO so late? Why is it so late? Well, it needs to be timely, just like just like Adobe does. They put those releases out in a timely fashion, or they used to.
You're right, right, exactly.
But there's a couple other things in here, right?
Yeah, we've got enhanced selection tools, which is always good. I mean, it's great to be able to improve upon those selection things. We know that sometimes that's always a real chore to get
like hair and stuff like that.
Yeah,
it's
that
brutal.
can be a nightmare. I think what's really important though is the enhanced power and speed. The performance gains that you can get now from this are really good. It's now 40 to 120%, which is kind of a big range there, but 40 to 120% faster than previous. So that's really good. I'm always excited about better speed for sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And 4K monitor support, that's the hot thing now, right? Everything is moving 4K. So, take advantage of that, better looking icons, everything, is enhanced to work with that high of a resolution.
Right. If you want to go on to the next level, instead of PaintShop Pro X8, you could also go to, they call it Ultimate, which is kind of like, a lot of photographers go down this route, because what that affords you is that they give you the brand new, the latest and greatest Aftershot Pro 2, which we talked about in the past as an alternative to Lightroom. It's a very good package, and I even did a side-by-side comparison a few shows back that you guys can take a look at if you haven't taken a look at Aftershot Pro 2. But also Perfect Effects 9.5 as well as Perfectly Clear 2. Both really good applications for the photographer for cleaning up images.
That's a nice bundle deal. You're getting a couple different software packages kind of in this bundle, which is really good.
Yeah, so it looks good. If you guys are in the Corel market, definitely it's worth an update. If not, and you don't have Lightroom yet, you don't have Photoshop, and you're looking for alternatives to paying a CC fee every month, it might be something to take a look at and give it a shot. They do have, I believe, a trial version that you can download. So give it a look-see, as they say.
Yeah, absolutely. So then there's this other website we kind of stumbled across in an article this week, which is kind of cool. It's called the Red List, and it's a resource for historic photography. Right. So from over the years, the generations and all, really kind of interesting way to go to get some photography inspiration.
Yeah,
just
absolutely.
To browse different things, the way things were done throughout history, the different subject matters, the different photographer's eye, on how they captured that subject, the lighting used, the composition. It's always great to look at what other people are doing, especially something from a historical sense, which has, years and years, generations, not really just one specific photographer. I think that's a great idea. It's a great resource.
Yeah, I mean, the best photographers, they are not necessarily the teachers, but they are the best students. And not necessarily a student to, let's say, learning from an individual, but learning from photos.
Yeah.
Really good photographers analyze and look at photos on a regular basis, and looking at old historic photos, and like you're saying, analyzing lighting. Where's the lighting coming from? How are they lighting a subject? What are they doing differently? Why are some of these images? I tell you what, I look at some images shot medium format way back like in the 20s, right?
Yeah.
And you look at these images, these contacts, some of them, and they are just impeccable.
Yeah,
the
beautiful.
lighting is perfect. The clarity on them, I mean, is just razor sharp. And they were dealing with old glass, and the stuff is just unbelievable. I mean, some of these things, some of these images, can hold their weight today in today's technology with no problem. So looking at this stuff, because they had to get it right. They were figuring light out. They didn't have something to go chimp on.
Back then it was about the art of photography and not the technology specifically of photography.
Right.
Nowadays it's so easy. A couple grand buys you a really, really nice camera, know, and now it's become like a tech, guru type of hobby as opposed to an artist's hobby. And that's where, we've said this, I think, ad nauseum over the years in this show. Really where you really need to be focusing your time and energies is on your creativity, coming up and, with different ideas and developing your vision as opposed to learning, the next setting on your camera, or worrying about the next body that's coming out with all the bells and whistles, what that's going to allow you to do. It's going to give you more bells and whistles, but unless you really know how to use them for your art it's kind of pointless.
Yeah. Or if you need it.
Or if
too
you
many
need
people, they upgrade just to upgrade to get the latest and greatest, and you don't need it. If it's something that you need, then also by all means upgrade to the latest and greatest body. But if not, stick with what you got. And that's really it. When I talk to a student, I always tell them, listen, you need to know your camera inside and out. You need to know what every button does, and you need to know everything about it and how to take a picture. But once you know that, you need to forget about that, and you need to be able to just delve into your art.
That's right.
There's too many people, they do things technically, and when you look at an image that's done technically perfect, sometimes it becomes boring. Yes. It doesn't have that spontaneity in it. It lacks something, and it's very easily apparent. I mean, you can look at an image, and sometimes images that are slightly blurred because of motion, because it's capturing that split second that will never happen again. That is a better picture than the one that's perfectly lit and just put together. Let's just call it.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Creativity, art is extremely important. So I think this site is out of France, I believe. But anyways, once again, it's Red List. Give it a shot. The URL, we'll put it into the show notes, but it's theredlist.com if you guys want to take a look.
No,
take a look.
.fr.
Let me see. The Red List. I think it is .fr, but also they do have theredlist.com.
Okay,
and that's where I think their quote unquote wiki of the history is located. But either which way, you guys will find it. We'll put it, like I said, we'll put it in the show notes. So anyways, moving on. Very interesting. We're always looking at marketing. How do we market ourselves as photographers? What are other people doing? We're in this digital marketing age. What do we do? People don't send out, the flyers, the snail mail as much anymore, even though they probably should, because no one's doing it. That makes it more effective.
Yeah.
But right now, what we're seeing for 2015 on how companies and how corporate, as well as, let's call it photographers, individuals, are allocating their budget. What I find very interesting, the top 5 is web content, that's development, performance optimization, right? Social media. Then third would be search engine optimization. Fourth would be paid searches. And then fifth would be social media advertising. That would fall into the grounds of, like a Facebook or something like that.
Yeah, Facebook promoted post or a promoted tweet or something like that. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, again, the number one with, this is a survey that was conducted through Adobe. Right. So the number one at 69% was web content. Right. And that we always go back to that, content is king. It's like with our show, right? I mean, we could bang out a whole bunch of mediocre or lame shows with no content, but we feel that you guys will get more value out of the show if we actually give you something. If we actually take the time to do research and present information to you that is worthwhile. So that's where the content is important. The same with your website. Your website is so important from for your business, and it is the center hub of everything, online and offline. Right. And your content really needs to be top notch, meaning your photos need to be the best. You need to have great copy to go along with it. Not copy that, realistically sounds like it was written by a 5th grader. I mean, and no offense to anybody, but that's what we do. Many of us are not writers. I certainly am not a professionally trained writer, but I'd like to think that at this point, with all the blogging that I've done over the years, I can put something coherent together.
Well, now that most of us are texting all day long,
yes,
coherent is really not even a term anymore. I mean, it's all these shorthand, short words, abbreviations, and all this stuff. No one can write anymore.
Nobody writes
anymore.
It's
very apparent when you read things.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm notorious. I have to read things 2-3 times, and I look at them like, did I really say that? Yeah. What does that even mean? So, but yeah, coming in at 53% is the social media community growth and engagement, which, guys, is really, really important. That's your LinkedIn, that's your Twitter, your Facebook, your YouTube videos that you're putting out there, your G+, your Google Plus, and your Pinterest and whatnot. Very, very important. You need to be in all of these locations. You need to be doing a little something in all of them. Yep. People are seen based on, what they do, where they do it, and how often they're seen doing it. So a bride might see your work on your website, but never see you anywhere else. And they're like, oh, yeah, okay, I saw him somewhere. I just don't remember why. Right. But if a bride goes out and sees a video that you shot of another bride that you were that you captured video while you were shooting them, and then they go out and they find you over on Facebook, and you have 2 or 3 more weddings that are on Facebook, and then they find your website. That's 3 places.
Yeah.
3, the Trinity. That's the magic number. You need to be in 3 places before the bride hires you. That's just the way it is.
Right.
You can kind of boil it away. You can do whatever you want, distill it down however you want, but that's really the truth. That's how it works. Right?
Yeah. I've got a local photographer around here. He does weddings and events, and he does studio work too, as well as portraits and stuff. So this guy, his studio, I don't think it's him directly, but his business has a pretty good presence on Facebook. And of course, they do a lot of work for local people, and they encourage that relationship with local people. And they are sharing their photos on Facebook and stuff like that, of course. But the idea here is that these local people, past clients, that they continue to stay engaged with. Hey, how you doing? Blah, 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 whatever. You keep that contact, you keep that going. And then when they share a photo, now these same people are like, oh, wow, that's a great photo. And then they share it. Well,
Exactly.
Think geographically. The friends that you have on Facebook, how many of them live close to you? Now, if all of a sudden, you've got a nice handful of friends that you're promoting this photographer's photo out to that happen to live locally to this photographer, that's going to stay top of mind if it comes time for them to need a photographer. So social engagement is critical. It's not just about advertising. It's about engagement, interacting with people, connecting, and building relationships, and I'll air quotes, relationships, because they are only just so deep. I mean, you're not building long-term friendships necessarily, although you and I did, right, Joe?
Yeah.
We met on Twitter. But,
that's right.
But, it's about that connection. It's about staying in people's face and in a good way, not in an overbearing, obnoxious way.
Yeah, absolutely. Number 3, of course, is search engine optimization. We all know that SEO is very, very important. There's so many companies making millions and millions, it's a $1 billion industry is SEO. It is important. I personally think that you should try to figure it out yourself. To pay for it it can be extremely costly, and it might not get you as much as some of these other. Then they have, of course, 4th would be paid search. That's, of course, you go into, let's say, Google AdWords. You guys all know about that. Yep. What I'm really interested in is the 5th one, the very last one, and that's social media advertising. And that's kind of fresh, top of mind, let's just say, topic, just like what we're talking about with Facebook, where we're doing like that whole promoted post thing and all the there's a lot of things that go on now with social media advertising that can really make you money, because you're already getting out to a certain crew of people. If you can actually get your message to them and then get that message to their friends, it's just, that's end game,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's huge. And I've done a lot of work with promoted posts in the past, and they absolutely work.
Absolutely.
They definitely get out there quickly. They reach a large audience. The big thing is the conversion.
Right.
If you're doing it for conversion, you have to be promoting something that's worth that interaction, that's worth that connection. So there is an art to it. It takes a lot of research, really a lot of, sitting down and developing a marketing plan. All of these 5 categories are all very important. They're all critical to your business, but they're all just a portion of your business. And, as a business owner, you really need to sit back and look at that marketing plan, and put something together. We're already well through 2015. It's never too late to start, but certainly develop that plan now for moving forward into 2016.
Yeah, and I really think that what it is it's like time management. I think if you actually put forth, let's say, 15 minutes a day, half an hour a day, an hour a day, and actually do it, absolutely every single day, and do some kind of marketing. So let's say every Monday you're doing social, every Tuesday you're writing a blog post, every Wednesday you're looking at possibly doing some SEO or whatever it is. If you put forth that 1 hour every day, it's accumulative. it will definitely help grow your business. I don't care if you're a photographer or any business owner. It really will help. But the problem is most people, they learn their craft, but they never learn marketing.
Right.
And literally marketing is probably 80% of your craft.
If you don't know how to sell your business, you won't be in business for very long.
You're not going to sell
no matter
anything.
how good your art is.
Exactly.
Sure.
So anyways, you want to steal some images?
Yeah, sure. That's what we all love, right? People stealing our images.
Yeah, we're going to steal some music. Let's go ahead and steal some images.
Yeah.
This next story kind of falls into that category just a little bit, right?
Yeah, so there's this website out there. It's called Polar. And they have recently launched 2 extensions, one for Google Chrome and one for Firefox. Now, Polar is an online image editing service.
Right.
I would not necessarily say it's meant for the professional, because as professionals, we're using, other software. But this extension for Chrome and Firefox will allow a user to basically find an image anywhere on the web, click on it, and have it automatically be imported into Polar's image editor. So from there, you can take and, edit the image, change the color, crop it, rotate it, flip it, whatever you want. And it eliminates the need for you to have to download it to your computer and then upload it to their service. Kind of cuts out the middleman.
Right.
As a piece of software, the idea of this functionality is awesome. It's great. I mean, it makes it that much easier to perform a task. My feeling is, though, is this a good thing? Should these companies be making it that much easier for people to facilitate finding images online and then editing
and just ripping them? Yeah. You being a web designer, many photographers or photographer websites that you've done, they'll say, listen, we don't want people to be able to take these images. You know what you can do? Well, we can make it so you can't right click on them, and just disable right clicks, and at least they can't just save as, and then the image is gone in a second. They'll have to actually work at getting it. Well, if this app just circumvents that completely, that's just one more thing that you have to take into consideration when you're putting your work online. It's so easy to take it. Keep that in mind. Obviously, you're putting on 72 PPI work. You're not putting 300 PPI that's printable, but still You're putting your work online. You got to bear in mind what you got to keep that and take that in consideration. Do you watermark it? Do you not? How do you watermark it, and where do you mark it? Do you mark it somewhere that it can be cropped off easy, or do you watermark it somewhere that is very difficult, that actually will hurt the image if someone tried cropping it out? These are all things that you'd have to consider. And so the question does remain, is it worth it? Is this something that is good, for the general public? Should it even be available? Is it a problem? Is it not a problem? I don't know. I can see it as being helpful, but I can definitely also see it. It's just yet another way for people to take images. Not that they can't already, but it just makes it
makes it that much easier.
Just that much easier.
I mean, you got to look at who this software is built for in the first place. I mean, it's not your professional photographer, like I just said. Professional photographers are using Corel. We're using Photoshop. We're using Lightroom. We're using Aftershot. We're using the defunct Aperture. We're using professional grade software because this is what we need for our living. The people who are using online image editors are most likely people who don't want to pay for software. And if people don't want to pay for software, they sure as heck don't want to pay for images.
Yeah.
And what are they using these images for? Maybe it's a marketing person that just wants to grab a quick image to use in an internal presentation. No harm, no foul. There's no profit is happening by it. Maybe it's a blogger, a mommy blogger, or any blogger who really has no understanding of copyright and photography and image usage rights and stuff. And they just want a photo to drop into a blog post. Well, this makes it that much easier. These are real issues. And this kind of goes into our last story here. About a photographer who basically had one of his photos used commercially, decided that he was going to file a lawsuit and lost because of user error because of what he did.
Yeah, we've talked about this before. This article goes into, kind of the gist of it is that it's a photographer. He takes a picture. He uploads it to, what is it? We've talked about this before.
Yep.
Flickr, right? Uploads it to Flickr and then goes and clicks the radio button for Creative Commons. And that's it. Now, the problem is when you do that, there's different methods, there's different versions of Creative Commons, and
Yep.
you need to read and you need to know what you're radio clicking on.
Yep.
So the bottom line is he goes and sees his image on this map maker. It's a Kappa map group, and they have this map, and it's of Montgomery County. And here's his beautiful picture on the front.
Yeah.
And so he sues them. Well, they go and, come back with, listen, we did what we're supposed to do. The Creative Commons said that, listen, we could go ahead and use this. Not only can we use it, it says that it can be copied, it can be redistributed.
Yep.
It can also, in any medium or any format, it could be redistributed, and it could be remixed, transformed, or built, or anything that I want to do, and even commercially. That's the italics, even commercially. That's right in the Creative Commons, the rules.
Yeah, the description. Yep.
In the description. And it says you just give credit, and that's it. And
Yep.
funny thing
Give
is...
attribution and everybody's happy.
Right, exactly. And funny thing is that's exactly what they did. They showed the back of the map, and there it is, the guy's name, crediting the photo to him, blah, blah, blah. And that's the end of it.
Yep.
I mean, he tried going down another route and saying, okay, great, you used it, but now part of it, states that you need to give the map away, let's say. But the gist of it, and that's in the share alike model that's in there, and besides attribution. But the problem is share alike really doesn't say that the party has to give away that product after using your image in the product. So
not when the
that's
description
it.
says it can be used commercially, and commercially
Yep.
translates into for profit.
So there you go. A lot of money down the tube for this lawsuit, and the map company wins, and that's it. So the bottom line here is even though you're going back to the Flickr thing. When you put images online, you need to be cognizant of what you're doing.
Absolutely.
Cognizant of those radio buttons. Cognizant of where you're putting them, and what is their policy. What is their policy? And we try to be completely upfront with you guys. And whenever we see something that kind of looks a little bit, let's say off color, we'll tell you about it right away. When,
Right.
a TOS changes and it looks like it's negative to you guys, negative to us photographers, we tell you right away, listen, X company, is doing X, Y, and Z. This is going to be, detrimental to you and to your copyright. Maybe they're ripping out XF data.
Yeah,
and
we've
now all of a
talked
sudden
about that in the past.
We've talked about that
Many
in the
websites
past.
are doing that.
So we try telling you guys whenever we can, or whenever we find something like this happening. And this is just a perfect case. This needed to be watermarked. Then he could have went back and said, listen, you want the original? No problem. Here it is. Give me $1,000. Or matter of fact, don't even give me $1,000. Give me a plug in your map or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's something beyond just the one-liner of who the photographer is. And
which is useless.
yeah, it's useless. Folks, this really is. This is all part of the big copyright thing that we have to think about. And the simple solution is, if you don't want it stolen, don't put it online. If you're going to put it online, you have to be very aware of where it's going and that it could possibly be used. And then you have to weigh out the fact that, are you going to follow up with a lawsuit? Do you have a lawyer on retainer at hundreds of dollars per hour to fight an intellectual property suit?
Yeah, I could tell you for sure. IP attorneys from Florida to California are over $400 an hour. I can tell you for sure. That's an absolute fact.
Yep.
So yeah, unless you have that kind of money, you really have to weigh your options. Even if your local, I'll give you an example. Just yesterday or day before, I got a call. A couple of years back, I shot a very high profile wedding, and they came back and they just called and they said, listen, we want to use a couple of your images that we really liked for our online, for online use, but also for all of our marketing material, all of our print work.
Right.
What say you? Now I have to come back with an offer. You
Yeah.
know, what, with X, Y, and Z. And then my response is, what say you? You know what I mean? And
Absolutely.
this happens all the time. But the thing is you don't want it made so free that people could just, these large corporations that can't afford to pay you,
Yeah.
some kind of stipend. Absolutely. Just to take it for free.
Yeah.
You have to be, just like they say, do your due diligence. When you see that radio button, you got to know, you just have to know.
Yep.
But it goes also back into watermarking. Where does that watermark get placed? Do you put it in the lower left-hand corner or the lower right-hand corner? Or do you put it right across the middle?
Right.
Some people say, oh, you dirty up your picture. Your beautiful pictures now doesn't look that great. Well, is it important to you? Is it not? Can a bride see through that watermark and see your style, see your art, see the way you posed, see the lighting, see those
Right.
images, say, I want my wedding captured by this guy.
Right.
And
Right.
if you think that that's not an issue, then maybe you do put that watermark dead center. It's something to think about.
Lots to think about, as always, with copyright, but you need to think about it or you will be losing out.
Absolutely.
It's just the way it is.
Absolutely.
All right, man, we need to get out of here. We're running really long with this week's
Yeah,
show. I guess
really
we're making
late.
up for last week's show. So if people want to connect with you, what's the best way for them to reach you?
You can find me on Twitter, and that's at Joseph Christina, and that's Christina without an H.
Great. And you can connect with me on Twitter. It's at Trevor Current.
So, all right, guys, we are out of here for yet another week. You can get all the show notes from this episode by visiting digitalphotographycafe.com. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/dphotocafe. And we'll see you next week.
You've been watching the Digital Photography Cafe show with Trevor Current and Joseph Christina. Subscribe to our YouTube channel with any compatible device by visiting youtube.com/dphotocafe. Be sure to subscribe to our audio feed through iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, and Xbox Music apps or through RSS. Visit digitalphotographycafe.com for show notes and to connect with your host.